Ed said finally, and then hung up.
He's there. Ed should be in.
What's that?
Ed is in.
All right, Ed, are you there now?
Ed, are you there?
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
at last. Let's just get started. I have to apologize, but we don't have time right now. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining the Executive Committee meeting of Community Board 14. The time is now 6:45. We're going to get started with new board member orientation. Two new board members were appointed by the board president, Eric Adams. They are Zakiya Khan and Michelle Brunson. Welcome. This orientation is to share with you some of the board's resources to assist you in becoming an active board member. I encourage all board members to check the Community Board 14 website for the many resources there, including COVID updates, community resources and announcements, job, education, and youth resources. The district needs statement projects in the district and much, much more, including the bylaws for the board. Please review the membership section of the bylaws and note that board members are expected to be at all monthly meetings. If you are absent for 2 board meetings, you will receive a warning letter from the chair. Excessive absences can be cause for removal. Each board member will be assigned to serve on a standing committee. Please attend all of your committee meetings. You are encouraged to attend any committee meetings beyond the one you serve on and to attend public hearings. Boards have a quorum requirement for these meetings, so participation is a key responsibility. Please also note that all board members serve as private citizens, not as a representative for a group or an organization. In addition, board members cannot represent the board at public meetings or events unless requested to do so by the chair. Note that the chairman is the board's sole point person to the press to ensure that views are expressed, that the views expressed are those that have been vetted through the board's processes to make sure that all views have been heard before a position is and presented publicly. Everyone will receive a committee preference form on Monday prior to the board's meeting, and the committee assignments will be finalized before the October meeting. Now let's just a bit of land use. Community Board 14 most frequently holds for special permit applications with the board standards and appeals in the special permit district in the southeast portion of the community district. These are usually for single-family homes that we vet to make sure they report with the president in terms of size, and open space in the neighborhood. This process helps ensure that neighbors' concerns are addressed. However, in October, we will hear two legislative applications. One is for a home shelter for 21 Duryea Place, and the other is for 1620 Cortelyou Road. And I'm going to ask Sean to start a bit more detail about that. Sean, are you?
Sure. We spoke, actually, Joel Siegel and Ephraim, can you mute yourselves? Hit your microphone button. I'm getting feedback. Cool. Thanks, man. So these are two hearings that will be held in October, but we're talking about them a little bit ahead of time because they'll be more controversial. And because, given that we're meeting remotely, we wanted to make sure that we did, above and beyond our due diligence to make sure that we, had an early and often notification system to the public. So the Department of Homeless Service Shelter, which is a plan, not a proposal. So we are not asked to weigh in on homeless shelters. And actually, Community Board 14 technically doesn't have its own homeless shelter. This will be our first. And it's a new build. They're building a building at 21 Duryea Place. So my concern when this first came to my attention in January was just the location. I kind of said you could put it almost anywhere else in the district and it would be better than 21 Duryea Place because it is adjacent to 19 Duryea Place. 19 Duryea Place is a facility for people with mental illness and is a constant source of 911 calls because of the residents there. Mostly those are medical calls to assist them. But sometimes it's from the community who, reacting to some behaviors that are antisocial and of concern. It's also the block that King's Theater is on. And the new building that will be the 200-bed men's shelter will be on the loading dock, practically on the loading dock. So it's that part of East 22nd Street that was demapped by this board to build the back part of the theater. And so it's just lousy. It's a lousy location for homeless men because of the facility next door, because it's a lousy facility for those men who will basically be living on a loading dock of a 3,000 seat theater, which is not a big deal these days, but presumably will return to normal and there will be live shows and stuff like that. But those concerns, they were brought to the attention of Department of Homeless Services. We met with them and the police and the theater, but they're moving forward with it. So we will hear from the community. They will hear from the community. We will, I'm sure, work on a like a community advisory committee and something like that. But I think that we'll hear a lot from people in that area who, the people who live on Duryea Place are sort of really overburdened, I think, to have a 3,000 seat theater and now 2 facilities on their block when there's only about 6 houses. It's going to be tough. And the people on Beverly Road, I think we'll hear from too. So that's just a heads up on that. And any questions or concerns that you want some early action or, some research on, just bring to our attention and we'll see what we can find out on that. And then the other one is the 1620 Cortelyou Road, and we did get a preview of coming attractions back, I can't even remember. Ed, Alvin, maybe somebody remembers how long ago that was. That was
It was my first board meeting. It was my first committee meeting. So it was like 2017 or 2018.
2017, okay. Wow, so that really wasn't early. Yeah, thanks for your memory, Steve. So that then moved forward. That was just like conceptual, and now it's an actual application with city planning. It's on our website under projects for anybody who wants the details. But that is going to be a 9-story building on Cortelyou Road, corner of East 16th Street, with about 85 units of affordable housing. It will be a zoning map change and a zoning text amendment. 85 units of housing, 60% of them, well, which equals 21, about 21 affordable units at 60% of AMI, and then 10% at 40% of AMI. But we don't know what kind of units those are. When asked, they said they didn't have the mix. So if they're all one bedroom, then they're not for families, and it's still a pretty high income. And if it's for families, then that's a kind of a different story in terms of what affordability means. But we're definitely going to hear from the community on that one, because I already have 240 some petitions, which is a lot. As you know, those of you who've been to a lot of our public hearings, sometimes we get 0 members of the public making a comment. So 240 a month and a half out is a lot. But there are also a lot of those auto petitions, like press a button, yes, I agree kind of thing. So we're going to work on a system of sorting them out to find out who's in the community, who's actually from Canton, Ohio, writing in from Canton, Ohio, because, it just sounds like something that they would oppose if they were here in Brooklyn with us. And we'll sort out the auto replies and then the people who've written individually. And I'll remind them all that the public hearing is in October and that they can actually submit into the public record then. But that's where they are with that. But I do encourage people to go ahead and look at it on our website, look at the plan, look at what they're saying, and get some questions together. This is a board that has been supportive of a lot of developments, even when they've been controversial. And, I want to make sure, though, that the community feels that they're being heard and that we're as supportive of their concerns as possible, that you're supportive of their concerns as possible. I think that's all I have on those two things. And I'm happy to, if there's any questions now, I'm happy to hear them. All right, then I'll add that I want to apologize that those committee forms that we'll send out to you on Monday, we usually give them to you, I think, on the June board meeting, but that's the thing that was in Irina's brain that she would always do, and I just kind of didn't remember that we needed to do it. So I apologize for getting them to you late, but just get them back to us as quickly as we can, and we'll have the committees formed by October, which is usually when we do. And thank you to Steve Cohen and Carl Henry Caesar for stepping up mid-year to co-chair the Education, Libraries, and Cultural Affairs Committee meeting, and hopefully you'll re-sign up for that.
You're here.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, thank you. Since there is further discussion there, let's move on to the youth council discussion. We spoke over the summer, and there was broad support for forming a Community Board 14 Youth Council. Dwayne Joseph did some outreach, and the Youth Services and Public Safety Committees were part of the conversation, along with others. Dwayne, are you here? And is Brian Cunningham around? Would you guys like to?
Neither are.
Okay.
So I guess if there is any board member who was part of the conversation of committee co-chairs over the summer, who's put any thought into this or wants to talk about, interest in moving forward with it, because the idea then was like we wanted to kind of hurry up and go and get something going over the summer, and then that didn't happen for very understandable reasons. But here we are at September. Is this still an idea that the board wants to move forward?
Any discussion at all on that? Any comments? Anything? Okay.
Hi, everyone. It's Joanne. I do think that we should continue to move forward with this idea. It's not really something that we should table. And the Human Services Committee is definitely interested in partnering with this concept. There's a lot of overlay. So I don't want to see it tabled, especially since, Wayne and Brian aren't here.
Nina has her hand up as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to second that opinion that I think anything now more than ever, we need to have youth involved. We need to give them things to do that help them to feel that they are participating and that they've got a voice.
Thank you, Nina.
Nina,
Anyone
can
else?
you just, Nina, here, just,
Well,
Anyone else? Okay, well, the youth council is certainly a good idea, and there's room for any and all committees to be involved with this. You know, if and when we're able to bring some younger people aboard and form this council, you know, they'll be working with every committee, I would suppose. So.
they're already.
Yeah,
the
jump
agenda
in the
item
fray, everybody.
On the agenda, but I need to-
Before we move on to
take everything.
other business, there's something that I'd like to say to the new board members. You know, as you might have guessed, I am the chairman of Community Board 14. Anything that you might see me do right or show up on time or say correctly, that's because of what I've learned from my predecessor, the former chair of Board 14, the chairman emeritus, Dr. Alvin Burke. He, you know, I can't say enough about, you know, what I've learned from him. It's not always evident in you know what I do or say with regard to this position on the board, but Alvin has been, you know, a teacher to me. He's been my friend and my brother, and he is a true public servant. You know, when he stepped aside as chair of the board, he remains a member of the board. Now, if that isn't true public service, I don't know what is. So, you know, I just wanted to do my little quick rant, you know, regarding my predecessor and my admiration for him. So, having said that, other business. So, I'm going to again ask Sean to give us an update on staffing issues, and then a reminder about filling out the budget request form.
Okay, I'm going to back up first just to the youth council, just so I can sort of tie it back together. I'll put together a concept outline and some suggested next steps for all committee co-chairs. I think maybe we'll use the youth council platform that the city already has, so that we're not reinventing the wheel. And if that ends up not being a good fit, we can always jump off. But that seems like a good way to get the word out. And then we'll use our youth committee, our youth, what did we call that? Youth conference page for the outreach to try to gather youth. So we'll try to move those resources forward. So thank you, Joanne and Nina and Ed Sen, who commented on the chat for chiming in on that, because this is going to segue into the staff report, I promise. This will be a sort of committee dependent effort. We can't pick up a whole lot more in the office, so we'll need a lot of sleeves rolled up on the committees, and so I appreciate that you want to do that, because I also agree that that the time is now and it could be invaluable in our community. But the reason why I sound possibly hesitant is because the staffing issues are that there's me, and there's Anya, who's 4 out of 5 days of the week, I've asked the Office of Management and Budget if we can move forward with a personnel action to bring Anya on for 5 days a week. And they haven't gotten back to me, which is incredibly frustrating. They actually, the executive committee knows this. There was a request by the OMB to voluntarily participate in a layoff program. And we did not volunteer to do that. And I talked to the committee when that request was made about how we would respond, but then it was ultimately decided not to respond to a request in writing, not to put a response in writing when the request wasn't in writing. So we did ask for them to put the request in writing, and you know, as expected, they didn't do that. In addition, they didn't answer my questions about whether or not, sorry, it's getting dark in my house. They didn't answer questions about whether there's a hiring freeze and a pay increase freeze, which I imagine is going to be hard to get a pay increase approved when other agencies are cutting. But Anya is willing to come on for the 5th day at her current salary. She did get a slight raise at the end of last year, and will step up for the 5th day. I also asked if we could hire a temp to do the administrative stuff. I'm struggling woefully with the budget stuff, with the budgeting through FMS and purchase orders and payment requests. It's a ridiculous amount of time for those tasks. But so we're hoping to get a temp who would have that sort of experience. But like I said, OMB has not answered my questions. I reached out to our liaison in the mayor's office today to see if he might facilitate an answer. And as soon as I know, I will let you know. But I would like, our bylaws are pretty clear that I don't need board approval to make these personnel action changes, but because there's been some pushback by OMB and in the past, the borough president's office, I wouldn't mind having, I think it'd be useful to have the board support, have it documented. So I would like the executive committee to report out on Monday to the full board that I've asked for the board support in adding a 5th day to Anya's schedule and hiring a temp once the city of New York instructs us on how to go about that. So I'll try to get that worded a little more eloquently. But I am going to ask the chairman to bring it before the full board for approval, just as backup and additional support, especially given that OMB seems reluctant to be helpful.
Absolutely.
Was that okay? Thanks. That I don't think that was overly candid. I didn't use any bad language, so it wasn't. And then what else? Oh, the other thing was the budget. You know, every year we ask the community for community input on budget requests, and we haven't received, I think, only one form. So if board members want to go to the website and look right on the front page of the website, there's the form. And if you want to fill one out, if you want to share it with neighbors, if you're working with a group that you know is underfunded or has identified funding needs, obviously this fiscal year, everything is going to be really tight, but it helps us identify needs for the community for the district needs statement, and kind of just gives us backup when we're asking agencies to restore funding or add new programs. So please participate in that. It's right on the front of the website, but let me know if you need to get it another way. And we will have, that will be our public hearing on Monday's meeting. So kind of need them back before that meeting starts on Monday. So quickly, please. Yeah, that's all for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Any other business, any other discussion?
Just because Ed, you mentioned this is Steve Cohen. Just because Ed, you mentioned the bylaws before. I remember early last year, around a year ago this time, we distributed the bylaws. We considered maybe changing one part. We decided not to, but I just wanted to bring it up because I think the bylaws were last amended about 5 years ago, and there might be some things in there we'd want to clean up, especially, for example, allowing remote voting, just so, it's in the bylaws, so we're not doing anything problematic there. Not that, anyone's not that anyone's objecting to that. And I don't know, especially with the the city charter revisions to the community board process, maybe there's some things we need to clean up. So I just wanted to raise that just because you mentioned the bylaws. I'm pretty sure we have some sort of legal committee, though I'm not really sure the details of that. I don't know if the legal committee should take the first crack or what the process is, but just wanted to raise that.
Well, Steve, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, well, certainly, the revision of the bylaws has been a standing thing for quite some time, and we've not really gotten around to doing that work in completion. The legal committee, I think, would be the first step there, and maybe
Ed, if I can jump in, I think in the past there's been a bylaws committee that gets appointed by the chair. Elvin could correct me if that recollection is incorrect.
Sure.
So maybe as part of the chairman's report on Monday, Ed, you can announce if I don't know if it needs to be a motion to form a bylaws committee, and if the motion passes, then the chairman appoints it. Is that right, Elvin?
That sounds like a reasonable process. Steve Thorne certainly would be the first appointee, right?
So Steve, maybe you want to bring it up as a motion on Monday and then get it confirmed by the board, and then Ed can ask for for people to email the board office to volunteer to serve on the bylaws committee. I'll try to go through the notes from when it was done in 2015 to give people a sense of how many meetings it was, sort of what the level of commitment would be. It might not be quite as much because they were done kind of more recently than the last time, but it was several meetings and it was over the course of several months, and so it would be people willing to put that time in.
Sounds good.
makes sense. Okay, Steve, so you'll make that motion at the general meeting?
Sure. That's good.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any other business, new business, old business?
I'm not quite sure where this fits in, but I'll bring it up, and if I'm out in the wrong place, just let me know. But it sort of ties in actually with community and environment. Over the summer, there was in one of the emails we got, there was some talk about some cleanup projects. So I reached out to Scout Troop 611 and said, this might be something Scouts would be interested in getting involved in. And I also mentioned that I told Anya, and I'm just waiting to hear back about when we can actually act on that.
Nina, I think I saw an email go through that was from Stefan Ringel in the borough president's office, who said he would be, because that was the program through the BP's office, and
Okay.
he said he would be your point person. So if you missed that or can't get a hold of Stefan, then
I don't recall seeing anything.
okay, I'll look for it and I'll send it off and I'll resend it to you. And if I can't find it again, I'll just simply do an introduction to Stefan Ringel, who's running that program at Borough Hall. There's also a lot of, this is on our website too, but there are a lot of opportunities to work with parks because they are really understaffed and really overwhelmed. And so there's some cleanup days in Prospect Park and the parade grounds, but the one that the borough president's office was organizing would be in our community. So that would be great. I'll make sure that that happens. Sorry that we didn't make sure that got that followed up on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Anyone else?
Michelle Brunson is here. She's one of our new members. I want to just see if you have any questions. And I can also, I think I put on the email today my cell phone number, and you're welcome to do that, because I think it's hard to acclimate when we're not meeting in person. So if you want to say something now, unmute yourself and speak up, and otherwise just follow up with me by email or phone. I'd be happy to talk more about the board and welcome you directly.
Good evening. I tried to figure out how to put my picture on. I needed my kids' assistance for that, so I apologize for my picture popping up late, but I was listening in on everything. Glad to be a member of Community Board 14. Mr. Powell, I made it. I'm here, and I'm ready for you to put me to work. I'm very interested in the youth committee, so possibilities of if I may work with that as well.
Indicate that on your form.
Yes, sir, I will. Also, the meeting that I think I accidentally sat in. Thank you, Ms. Brown. That I accidentally sat in over the summer, where we had the gentleman from Borough Hall, the chief of staff, speaking in reference to the precincts, community boards having a say or a representative in a committee. I was interested in that conversation, but during the meeting, I kind of felt like I wasn't really supposed to be in the meeting. But I do have some suggestions that I would like to go over with you, Sean, or if you need to draft it out, I'll write it out, as far as an added addition to the letter that you sent across as well. If there's no objections to that, I'm interested in everything that's going on. Yes.
Yeah, no, please pitch in on that. And because that's just going to be a work in progress. Where we left it with the borough president's office was that they were going to continue to talk to other groups and assess broader interest and keep us in that loop. So yeah, let's keep ideas flowing.
But I think they do that. They, we're going to form a committee, and it's a dead committee. It really is just there, and it does nothing, and it has no accountability. So I wrote out some suggestions on how to make it tight so it has accountability, as well as the entire board gets a say. It's one thing to have a representative there, but if they're not reporting back, it's kind of problematic. Because then the community is looking at the board saying, but you were there, you were at the table, so they want to hold you accountable as well, when there needs to be some distance between, as far as I'm concerned. And I've worked on a lot of these citywide committees.
Okay.
So, evolve ideas around. Well,
I thought I saw, heard someone else trying to make a comment there. Shahid, were you? Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I just want to share that in these days we are watching and observing the gun violence daily, and we are watching shootings and a lot of things happening in Community Board 14 and all over the Brooklyn. So I think if we discuss and take on board Samro Precinct, and we chalk out any programs for the awareness and meet with the community leadership and other guys, as you know, that Jumani William, Rodney Bishop, elected officials are also walking on the roads, and they are announcing and have a chat with community. So I think if we also make a plan to take on board 7% with the inspector, so maybe we have a good peace situation in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahid. Just kind of stay tuned. Keep checking out the Ward 14 webpage for the next meeting of that committee. And, know that you know, everybody is facing that same situation within this board district. So, you know, we do intend to, at least I do intend to be active on trying to do something about that. But you know, just stay tuned. Keep checking the board's webpage.
Because we also want to know is there any development that borough president gave us a proposal to community board and precinct and all the these issue to
That
work
was
together with the community board and precinct. Is there any development about that proposal?
the proposal that the borough president put forth to all community boards. I mean, we did meet on that, and we did agree to a limited kind of sign on. Sean, could you speak to that?
Yeah, I think it didn't move very far past the last conversation we had because of summertime months, but I'm happy to, I'll reach out to Ryan Lynch, the chief of staff over at Borough Hall, who was our point person on this, and sort of to Michelle's point, you know, just follow up and keep them accountable and keep them moving forward and ask them what, you know, where we're at in the process and that we're still interested and we still want to be engaged. And I'll let you know what he has to say.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sean. Hi, Sean. Hello?
Hi, glad you made it. Go ahead.
No, I've been on. I've been behind the scenes. Yeah, I did get on. Thank you for the suggestion. Now, I just wanted to say that I'm also part of the 7-0 Interfaith Clergy Council, and Mr. Khan is, and the Detective Newsy and Kim have been informing us about some of the shootings that have happened, that have occurred, and the president of the 7-0 Interfaith Police Precincts Clergy Council has gone out. There was a march. We did one with the bar president, and on Sunday night we were their public advocate with God Squad, the 6-7 police clergy council. So we've been visiting the sites, and I've actually prayed for and folks, and just making the presence known in the the spots where there have been shootings, and as Detective Newsy has let us know. And so even the other night he asked that we go to a site that had a large party, and thank God there was no gun violence on that night. Just going and speaking and talking to the folks. So yeah, there have been some groups that are out there that have been out there for the summer, and we've been in touch with the 7-0 precinct. Yeah, so just wanted you to know that.
That's excellent, Florencia.
You can't unmute
Just also want to just as I mentioned before, keep in touch with the board office, or by way of the webpage or phone in, whatever. But try and be present at the next meeting of public safety committee,
Okay, right.
so that we can develop something out of the board, some kind of response out of the board. Okay.
Yeah, because we do got crisis.
And Ed, the 7-0, in case Michelle doesn't know this, I think all of the veteran board members know, but Ed is also the president of the 70th Police Precinct Community Council. And Ed, your monthly meeting will be on the 4th Wednesday on the 30th again, on the 30th this month, correct?
Yeah, the last Wednesday of the month, which I believe will be the 30th.
Okay, it is, yeah. So I want to encourage a lot of participation in that as well, not to give, Ed more to do in terms of handling a big crowd. But the commanding officer of the 7-0 isn't as community oriented as some of his predecessors. And so that's kind of, he sort of dropped off my district service cabinet meeting after about 10 minutes today. So that really needs to be a place where the community shows up. What is it about you can't bring the Muhammad to the mountain, Muhammad to the mountain, mountain to the Muhammad? You know what I mean? Like, wait, just go. Be there, be present for that meeting, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can get information about the meeting, again, by being in touch with the board office or continuing to monitor the Board 14's webpage.
Okay.
I have on my calendar here that September 30th is a public hearings. Is that a conflict?
That's right, Glenn. It's gonna be a double header, baby. We're gonna have a 6:30 public hearing. It's gonna be a real quick one, though. It's a special permit hearing on Olean Street, and I promised Ed that we would release him by 7:30. Honestly, I think that's gonna be a 6:30 to 7 public hearing, and then Ed will go. Then you're gonna sign off and then sign on to Ed's meeting. It's gonna be a good night. Popcorn. Make your popcorn.
Thank you.
I'll take off one hat and put on the other and just keep it moving. Okay, any other business, any other discussion?
This is Alvin. I just want to thank Chairman Powell for his very gracious remarks.
Well, Alvin, I'll second what Ed said. We appreciate your continued guidance. And thanks for picking up the mantle, Ed. Is there anybody else?
Okay, hearing none.
Class dismissed.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. So we'll conclude this meeting now at 7:26. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night. Good to see you all.
See you Monday. See you back
Have a good evening.
next Monday.
Sean, I'll be in touch.
And a good
Be in
week.
touch.